Hello again, everybody. This is the New England Haunts podcast. I am Hollowoosh, but mostly known as Josh, so we can skip all of that Gussie crap, right? You guys got nicknames?
I have Sketchy Panda.
I don't really have a nickname.
Well, that was fun. All right.
Just Amber, AK. Those are just my initials. It's not really a nickname.
Sounds
but
good.
Hot Mom.
Okay, all right. So we are here with Matt and Amber. Kind of a duo tag team here from Spooky World and Barrett's Haunted Mansion, but I guess right now you guys have parted ways with at least one of them.
I am no longer with Barrett's.
Okay.
And Matt is no longer with Spooky World. So he's with Barrett's and I'm with Spooky World.
Okay.
I was with Spooky World about 10 years ago.
That was okay. Geez, I thought it was sooner than that. Wow.
Yeah, my career started at Spooky World.
Okay. Well, I noticed on the wall behind you and some of your videos and pictures there, you got a bunch of pictures of, are they T-shirts?
Yeah, I have a T-shirt for just about every year I've haunted. Theirs are for just multiple events, so I have about 24 shirts on my wall. This is my 20th season.
I don't think I've seen the entire wall in its glory anywhere, but one of them says Cutting Edge.
Yeah, that was a scenic design company that we had started. I had started with my mentor, Mike Crosser Tattoo. And we did that the year after Spooky World did Beer at Fenway.
Okay, all right. So it wasn't, naturally, I'm thinking, Texas? You went all the way to Houston?
No. We did not go to the longest haunted house in the USA.
Is it still? I think like 3 people share the title now.
Yeah, someone adds a claustro hallway here and there, and then they're the longest, so.
Yeah. All right, that's fine. Well, Amber left, so it was fun talking with her. Oh, she's back. Okay.
She actually got a picture up the wall.
Oh,
it's in your inbox now.
Yay! That's all I needed. Bye, guys.
All right, sweet, later.
Anyways, okay, we're here with Matt and Amber, long-time haunters in the New England game, and one of them's got painted fingernails, and he's weird. Let's talk about that.
No, I don't have painted fingernails right now.
Damn it!
It's build season, so don't really have that time for that self-care, but before the season starts, it'll be painted again.
Nice.
My toenails tend to get painted as well as I go and get pedicures, because you gotta take care of your feet, otherwise they won't take care of you.
Hear that. Your official title at Barrett's Haunted Mansion, Matt, would be?
It goes under as a scenic designer, but I am the lead on the Condemned attraction as far as design and build and managing that attraction as well. And I've also run some of the actor training as well there. And I help on with the team when we talk about concepts for the mansion as well as input on a lot of our nights that we run, a lot of the special events that we do, different types of tours we offer.
Nice.
It's a tight-knit group. I think the management team is somewhere around 5 or 6 people.
Nice. So, important person number 5.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot more than I thought you did. Wow. I knew you had something to do with the build there, but yeah, that's being pretty much the head person of the whole Condemned attraction?
Yeah. That when I came over, I helped out with build initially, and then the following year they had what was Cell then, and they wanted to change it up, and I was like, hey, let's just turn it into a post-apocalyptic. It's a concept I can pull off with all the old stuff that we had in the containers, and Mary was just like, put your money where the mouth is, and I did, and we ended up with, at that time, Compound. And then it pretty much at that point I had taken it hostage and it became my baby.
Compound is awesome. I love that attraction. I'm pretty sure I've seen Condemned. It's been maybe 2 or 3 years since I went. Is it pretty much permanently going to be called Condemned, just with different styles of post-apocalyptic?
You'll have to come by next year.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Everything's always changing. For the past 4 years, it has been Condemned, and since you've been there, the attraction has. Since I've started in Compound to Condemned, it was Sanctuary in the middle. It's almost doubled it tripled in size.
Nice.
And so the whole haunt runs off of a computer now.
Wow. I've been really wanting to see it. I just I keep on getting nailed down with everything else and trying to see new attractions every year, so it's always a tough one for me.
Gotcha.
Amber, what the hell do you do?
Yeah, right? Not nearly that many cool things. I manage the hayride up at Spooky World.
Nice.
So that whole 1 mile long ride, I've been doing that for about 3 years. It has grown tremendously. I've kind of compiled my own little army of misfits, and we all just hide out in the woods, and they range from like high school kids to people in their 50s.
Yeah.
So that's my main job there. I've also taken on the role of some scenic painting and costume distressing.
Okay.
Pat Lynch was our OG haunt mom. And she was, the queen of costumes along with Meg Kamara. And when she passed away, Meg needed some help with, being able to take on the tackle of costumes. So I've tried to fill some very big shoes to help out with costumes and such. So when my kids started calling me their haunt mom, it teared me up a little bit.
That should be one of those badges there. Do you think haunt badges have them?
Yeah.
It's haunt mom. That's a big one. Absolutely. That's good that you got to step up and do that, especially for an attraction that needed to be revamped. You are absolutely right, because that goes all the way back to the OG nostalgic Spooky World. That was kind of their big pull of the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't sound like you started doing that stuff when they started up the hayride again, right? That was a few years before that, right?
So my first year there was 2012. And I just worked for the people that took your picture right before you went in and got the crap scared out of you.
Great people.
And then I moved away for a few years. So as soon as I moved back to the New England area, I went right back to work there. I started acting, was on there midway for a very brief period of time, and then took on the role.
Excellent. A midway as a midway actor?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. I didn't know if you actually participated or you were just behind the scenes kind of.
If you check their social media, they use the picture at least once a year. The doll with the broken face and the red dress, that is me.
Okay.
That is Molly. She is, she just wanted to get out of her box.
Don't we all? I don't know what that means. It just sounded nice at the time. So, the way this works is you will pick a category and a point, and for every points that you give, if you get up to 100 points, I will drink a beer that is from one of your areas.
All right, awesome.
And I got quite a few here, so I don't think I'll get thirsty. But somewhere in here there's 2 beer cards, which means no matter where I am in the score chart here, I drink the next beer. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. I was hoping somebody would stop me with this madness someday. It's not going to be you guys.
No, this is purely for our entertainment.
It is true. So what we have here, we got 5 categories and 5 questions each. So we got characters, special effects, special events, haunt work, haunt life, and non-haunt questions. So wherever you guys want to start, some of them pertain a little bit more to either Barrett's or Spooky World, but I guess they could be answered by both experiences. Okay.
Awesome.
So let's do character. Let's do characters for 5. Start small.
Boring. All right, fine. The process of making your characters. I know that. So far in any little bit of research I did about Matt, you actually have 2 characters that I have recalled, but I have a feeling you got a lot more. And just briefly go into what it takes to actually make, because you don't just throw on a costume and go out there and spook people. You actually become something.
Wait, we do that?
Oh, never mind. Next question.
No, so I do have a number of characters. I've kind of stuck to a couple now where. Before, when I started, it had countless characters. Used to call it a whole carousel. The process of making a character for me, I will kind of pick off of like one thing. It might be an item or a costume piece, or it might be something that someone does or something that my dog does, or a type of emotion I'm trying to convey, and then I build the character around that. I never build a character off of a dialogue or an epic, super detailed backstory. Because I believe that living things should be allowed to grow and evolve. When you start pigeonholing yourself to just doing a specific accent or saying certain things, the character never comes out the way you imagined, and you kind of put limitations on it. So, for instance, there's a character that I do called Mr. White. This character, I wanted to make myself seem smaller, seem meek, because I have a tendency to... it's a very easy thing for me to play an aggressive character, and I want to kind of reel that back in and make myself smaller. And so when I'm acting, I will go out and I will walk slowly. I'll be timid around people until I'm acclimated after about a lap or two around the groups. And then that's when the things that I picked up on, like my dog Romeo's behavior when he's excited. When he, at random points, he'll perk up and he'll get right in your face and he'll sniff very closely, and now it's uncomfortable. So that's what will happen with Mr. White, is I'll run right up and it's almost innocent and childlike. And then I'll start doing things like taking a rope and making bunny ears and having the bunny hop, 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 hop. And people are like, oh, that's great, that's cute. And then I'll snap the rope, pull it straight and bring it to someone's throat. And then they're like, what's going on? I'm like, the character's just playing around.
That's art.
That's
great. That's cool.
And with that, and then there's other characters that I've done, like I have my clown sketch. He's a clown that I wanted to base it around a personality. I didn't want to just put makeup on. I didn't want to be another face. It's very easy to go out and be a clown, and just people are naturally scared or uncomfortable around clowns to begin with. Yep. I wanted him to have a personality, and pretty much a sketchball, he just so happens to be wearing clown makeup. And that was born out of wanting to have a character. Like, I watched the Newsies and kind of how they carry themselves, and I was like, I think if I were to do a clown, it'd kind of be in this vein, this aspect.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, everybody seems to have like a different process of trying to like really develop their character there, and it's just like a lot of times there's really no process. But when I talk with pros, it's like, Jesus, it's stuff that I would never ever think about.
There's more than one way to make an omelet, and it's finding what works for you. And characters are going to come to you differently. Sometimes it comes out joking around. I completely shifted sketches, how he talks, one complete season just based off a joking conversation I had with a friend. Right. And we're joking about him being a funeral director, and how they would, how morbid it would be if a funeral director went to a terminal ward and started offering cards to people like, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Just to let you know, it's buy two, get one free.
Creepy.
And then I modified that into sketch, where I would go up to people and be like, I like you. It's nice teeth.
Well, I like what you said about how like a character should be able to grow too. Diehard fans come back and they might recognize you and everything and see like, oh, what's been going on? Because I remember Amanda was talking about that with me a while ago, and she talked about how like her Demonia character like kept on turning into like something new happened, and it kind of went along with things that were going on in her life too every once in a while. So it was kind of like, wow, it's like real. It's like half real.
It really is. Some of the top actors, the characters connect to something real with them, and that's, for me, a lot of those times the characters will connect to aspects of me that just seem to be amplified. But characters, your attractions, anything with this industry, you should be treating it like it's organic, like it should grow, because your customers coming through, they want an experience that will latch onto them, and the only way to make that happen is to treat it as if it's a living, breathing entity and give it the air and life it needs.
I can feel that, with a lot of the characters down at Barrett's, It's very character-driven outside. It's crazy.
I was once told that if you're going to build a character and you're going to kind of, grow something from nothing is to take the thing that you fear the most and embody it. So growing up, I always had dolls in my collection, but I never kept them out because there was just something about them that didn't sit right with me, which is ironic because like I played with my Barbies and whatever, but I had this big collection of porcelain dolls. When I, first got into everything, it was like I saw a doll on the Midway up at Spooky World just as a customer when I was like 13 years old, and I was like, that is creepy as fuck. That was my inspiration. When I get to do this, when I'm old, or old enough, I should say, I want to create this doll. So over the years, I kind of, my cousin helped me create a mask, and I was like, I just want it to be a broken doll. So he kind of really helped me with the initial design, and he used to work at Victorian Mansion in Salem, New Hampshire. This was eons ago, but he helped me design that, and then, I took, a simple pajama costume, and then that evolved into a dress. And then a few years later, when I didn't really get to do Molly a lot and, go out and act in her, I purchased a spider mask, and it's got the legs and everything and the eyes, and it's falling apart into 100 different pieces right now, but I'm terrified of spiders. The spider could be this big, and I'm not about it. He's got to take care of it. It fits in the car. We're both dying. We're all going up in flames. So I created this spider character and kind of took that persona of, if it's something that I'm absolutely terrified of, if I own that, then it doesn't have power over me. It's kind of like it's a way to get over your fears, to kind of embody the thing that scares you. However, if you're scared of rain, I guess that would be, being able to create a character off of that. Think about the things about rain that scare you. Is it the water? Is it the way that the weather evolves? What is that going to look like? Are you going to be have the sopping wet hair and the wet looking clothes? And then how do you build a story off of that?
Do you think it worked? Are you still afraid of spiders or dolls?
I'm definitely still afraid of spiders. So that one is a bit of a work in progress.
Spider!
That's a cute spider.
Damn
Jumping
it!
spiders are
I
not nearly
spider.
as
I suck.
nice and fuzzy. The eyes are just friendly. But
I'll find a creepier one.
It's mainly wolf spiders, or the ones with the freakishly long legs that sit very flat. Yeah, he's gonna pull it up.
All right, that's cool. That is only 5 points towards the 100 that I need. So let's go.
Alright, I'm gonna go Haunt Life for 25.
Haunt Life for 25, thank you. Oh god, see these questions tended to be a little bit more on the trickier side. I heard that in the basement of Barrett's Haunted Mansion there are 3 rooms that are actually cursed. Actually haunted. And they stem from some kind of story, or I don't know if it's true or not. Somebody legitimately died in that house.
So there's a few stories, and Amber can actually shine some light on it, because Amber, I had gotten the stories from a number of the people that worked up at Barrett's, and she had reached out and told the Morbid crew about them too. It is the stories of the actual, what happened on the property and things like that. Mary's not the biggest fan of people knowing that, because some things are tied to family and it's an old house and stuff like that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I will go on to say about the curse thing that's pretty funny is that one of our artists, Rob Marin, we did voodoo one year. And this was just before my time. But Rob Marin did voodoo, and Mary had gotten all this stuff from New Orleans, actual, when she goes all out in detail, it's very specific, it's actual voodoo things. And Rob was actually putting actual sigils on there, and he put the sigil, and a sigil for death, and unfortunately someone had passed away. not from Barrett, but someone that I believe that he knew that he was connected with it in some way. And from that point forward, like, that room never felt right to people.
That's terrible, though. Okay. Yeah, we don't have to go into it if you guys really don't have anything, but maybe any just kind of like weird, like haunting stories, like something weird.
There are like tall tales. Yeah. Like, there's rumors of there being an affair between people that used to work and live in the house that was there, and the estranged lover. But there's no hard evidence of that. And like Matt said earlier, we had the privilege of having the girls from Morbid come and guest act at Barrett's. So I did my research and kind of gave them like the history of McTeal's and kind of how that's evolved over the years. But
is that a real story?
Out of the respect for the families involved, it's kind of doing our due diligence to not kind of bring publicity to it.
Sure, yeah. But the McTeal's thing, is that a real story or is that a made up background story?
You mean as far as the concept behind Condemned, or?
I guess so. I mean, was McTeal's a real thing there?
Yes. So
okay,
it was.
I didn't know that. Okay.
There was Teal's Restaurant, McTeal's Magic Mountain, stuff like that.
Okay.
That's what it was called. Was before. And so when we do a lot of our concepts, I do a lot of my stories, I throw a lot of Easter eggs in there and a lot of stuff that salutes back to BHM of old or things to my own personal history in haunted attractions that I throw in there for me and like close friends and stuff.
That's cool. I like it when they use
I gave her the name of McTeal's Industries for Condemned, and she absolutely loved it because it was just a nice like salute. She's like, I haven't seen that name in forever, and she was like overjoyed when she saw it. And so
McTeal's Magic Mountain was a golf course where most or part of Condemned currently stands.
Why does everybody call it a golf course?
It was a mini golf course.
Every time I hear about it, it's a golf course, and everybody thinks it was like acres. Like, what? How'd they fit it down there?
Yeah, we just
for the space Abington has, I guess it was pretty luxury at the time.
There you go. The Morbid girls, who are they?
Podcasters.
Yeah, they're podcasters. So they are like the founders of the Morbid Network, but they do Morbid podcasts. I don't know their last names, but their first names are Elena and Ash. And they do true crime stories, and they're fairly local.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're Massachusetts residents. They visit Barrett's. They actually, one year, I want to say it was back in 2017, they had mentioned Barrett's on the podcast. And I had a friend that was listening to older episodes, and they were like, oh my gosh, you need to go listen to this episode. Here's the timestamp. They mentioned Barrett's. So I went and I listened to it and I sent it to Matt. Then we collectively, with the person that's in charge of marketing now, we reached out to them and invited them to come guest act and kind of build a plan. And then they came, they hung out, they went through the whole process of being a guest actor, and then they got to scare the bejesus out of their friends.
Nice. All right. Move right along. Boom. We're at 30 points here.
All right, let's do Haunt Work for 20.
Haunt Work for 20. Hey, the video promos. I have always been a giant fan. The promo videos there, it was always great to me because it was more of a teaser every year for the theme of the house. And I just didn't know if you guys happen to know anything about like why that came to be. The style.
It came to be the style because, haunted houses nowadays, like, you know what the concept is for the most part, unless they announce a new attraction. And Barrett's footprint being what it is makes it very difficult to kind of put out the same thing. Mm-hmm. So Barrett's is still one of the unique haunted houses that, like, back in the day of how haunted houses used to be, where you gutted everything out, and so we'd strip it all down to studs, and we still do that to this day. And even Condemned, 70% of it to 100% of it gets stripped out every year as well and redone. and remap. So with that comes wanting to do a different theme and different, having that different theme and just teasing it for people and creating that excitement, because we get pestered by our actors and some of our super fans of like, what's the theme this year? What's the theme? And, people always love the new shirt for the new season. So us doing the videos are kind of like, hey, can you guess what it is? And it's just, it creates excitement for the season before the season hits amongst our actors and our customers.
That's beautiful. I think my favorite one is still the just a few years ago now it was like the nuclear family kind of thing, the dummies and everything.
Yes.
I won't say that was my favorite theme of the haunt. I'm not entirely sure. It's been too many freaking different things, but the teaser for that was just like, what?
Yeah.
Just this old like clicky foot this. It's not clowns. It's not a butcher. It's not zombies. Witches. What is that? Very weird stuff. That was great.
I remember I was in the creative room for that one, for when we were coming up with rooms. And, I was like, and I went back to the times when I was at Trans World, when I was with my mentor, Mike Crosser, and we would build at the trade show there, and we do an interactive haunt. And I was brought back to when we did a 50s kitchen, and I really loved that style of building. And there was props that we had saw at Trans World that were done by Nevermore Productions, and there were these mannequins that were automated, that were pneumatic, and our makeup manager and lead painter on the creative team, Jaina, wanted to use these mannequins, and we had worked together years ago on that interactive, and I was like, what if we did a 50s kitchen with these mannequins? Because Mary was like, how are they going to fit? I'm like, just think back to Indiana Jones, Crystal Skull, do this that way, and all of a sudden that was how it was born, and nuclear fallout hit, and it came to be really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that was, yeah. I mean, it may very well may be my favorite theme that Barrett's has done of the years that I've attended anyway. But that teaser video, yeah, you're right. That really got me excited. You know who else kind of did the same thing? Haunted Labyrinth down in Providence. They kind of did a little teaser video every year, too. I don't know who started it, because both of you guys are pretty freaking old. I'm pretty sure Barrett's is actually the oldest haunt still running in Massachusetts. I'm pretty sure.
33 years consecutively.
Yeah. I mean, I don't put Spooky World in the running there because it's just changed over too much, so they don't count. Yeah. But I don't think there's anybody in Massachusetts that started earlier than that.
The only other person that I could think of, I don't even know when 13th World started out in Palmer.
When they started in Cumberland? But yeah, they would have been Rhode Island anyway, the first years at Diamond Hill Park there, yeah. Alright, we're at 50 points. We're halfway there, unless you choose the wild card.
Let's go. Do special events for 25.
Ooh. Oh, yes. The Fear at Fenway and Terror in Rhode Island.
I am exempt from this question. I lived in Hawaii during Terror in Rhode Island, and I was not quite around for Fear at Fenway. I do, however, my dear friends were on that crew for Fenway, and maybe a sleepless night.
I had a lovely hotel room. I did not sleep.
Yes, in 2011, Spooky World ran a mini 3 attraction thing and underneath the stands at Fenway Park.
Yeah, we did a graveyard. I set all the pieces for, and I forget the name of the graveyard. I know that the manor was Brigham Manor, and we did a 3D house.
Yeah, I remember the 3D house. I don't know why I remember that. Where did that all come from? How did they get this idea? We're going to start doing a haunt at Fenway. What?
Tattoo Mike was approached by the people at Fenway Park.
Oh, okay.
Do this event, and the owners of Spooky Worlds were like, hey, let's do this event. And he was like, we already do our show in Litchfield, and that's already a monster. And it is. At that point, it was 6 to 7 haunts. We had a tremendous build crew that would get these things up, because those things were take down every year, pack in trailers and unpack, and it was ball busting 3 months of just grinding work that included floors, walls, everything. So Tattoo was like, no, we can't do this. We can't, where are we going to find the time? The owners were very, very adamant to try and do this. So they were like, we'll rent a, warehouse space, whatever you need to do to make this work. So he negotiated his contract and he coordinated both builds. So when we started in a warehouse for Fear of Fenway up in Londonderry. We went out to Fenway under, I believe it was Concourse A or Concourse B, measured everything that we needed, and we taped off the ground in the warehouse to make sure that when we built this thing, we got it in there, we didn't have any major hiccups. I will say with that build, that was 30,000 square feet that was built in about 3 days.
Jeez.
And torn down without a remainder on the ground in about 28 hours or less.
Wow. Not an uncommon story in this business, yeah, but geez, that was just out of nowhere. I was like, what? Spooky World is going to start doing it at Fenway? And
yeah.
And then, I don't know if it was a year later, but the Tarot in Rhode Island was, or
right,
two.
Yeah. So the Fear of Fenway, a little tidbit of that is, we had 3 days to build it. Had the Red Sox gone to the World Series, more importantly, we were waiting on the All-Star game. If the AL won that All-Star game, we would have, and the Red Sox went to the World Series, we would have had a day and a half to build that.
Wow.
The following year, after we launched Cutting Edge Scene Design, it was either the following year or the year after.
The year after for Terror.
The year after.
There was a year in between.
They were, the owners were approached again and talked to a owner of a property down in Rhode Island, and they wanted to put an attraction down there. After going through the brutalness that Fear of Fenway was, they thought it best to have, 2 separate directors, because you can't coordinate 2 massive haunt seasons together. Fear of Fenway worked because it was at the end of the year.
Right.
But even then, it was such a labor of love that they ended up naming who is now the director of Spooky World, Chase DeNamer. And he went down, that was his first director's job, and he went down there, he was leading our build crew before that, to go and take on that project. He went up and resurrected 3 of the haunts took a couple of the haunts from Fear at Fenway, modified them, and took one of the haunts from Spooky World in Litchfield and modified it and brought it down there. And we continued to work on our stuff up in New Hampshire.
Now that you say that, yeah, I kind of remember going through the Tarot in Rhode Island and being like, this is just Fear at Fenway in a field. How dare they? They do. I don't know how many people would have went to both, because I'm just a nut.
Yeah.
But
at that point, those haunts were just sitting in a warehouse in Wilmington.
Yeah. Just
sitting there, just dying to be broken out. So.
Jeez. No, I'm sorry I had to go through that. No, that was good, though. It was a good venture, I guess, to hear about that. So much work went into it. It just kind of seemed natural to me that it would have been Mike trying to get other attractions out there, just because it was like, oh, let's try this place. All right, no, let's also do another place down Rhode Island. Let's try to branch off this thing. But no, it wasn't that
Mike,
at all.
That New Hampshire park was definitely that's a load to bear at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, we would have never been able to accomplish any of those things without the crew that we had.
Yeah.
So it was a really special time, even though we didn't get much sleep.
And you would say that's probably one of the things that led you to kind of wanting to get away from all that? Or at least there?
No, actually. I didn't start... my last year at Spooky World was when Legendary Haunt Tour came through.
Oh, 14? Okay.
Yeah. And so for me, like, the Legendary Haunt Tour didn't necessarily go off the way that I would have imagined it to. And we just reached a point where I felt I had more growing to do, and I didn't feel like we were meshing creatively in the same aspects. Like that park's a monster, and it's tough to kind of go in and be able to have your fun projects while, there's a lot of stuff that you got to tend to and get done. And, and you got to make things, things have to be safe. And for me, I wanted to grow more as an artist. I had a lot of opinions on a lot of things, not just building at that point. I had already been 10 years in the industry. I wanted to start managing, and, I couldn't necessarily do that there. And we parted ways very amicably with respect. And that was it. They put in a hayride, and we talked about it, and I'm not a hayride guy, so I went off. And that first year, I actually didn't have a plan to go anywhere. It was just going to be a year off, and then the guys at Barrett's reached out and said, "Hey, why don't you come out and just do some stuff here and there?" And then
you didn't go Fright Kingdom like everybody else from Spooky World did.
He's not ready to retire just yet. I have the utmost respect for Tim and everything that his crew
I love Tim. I'm just saying, it's just funny.
Just a jest, because all the old heads seem to go and rest their bones there.
Hey, it would be the place to do it, Inside, you get meals, everyth's set. You just do your thing.
You never have to worry about bad weather.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, there's the plus side.
For me, when I was working at Spooky World in Litchfield, I actually was living in Massachusetts. So me just making a continually drive, I was already driving an hour to the haunted house, and to make that trek to Nashua, and I just, once again, I didn't feel I had the notoriety at that point. I was just a builder, I helped lead a build crew, and I had a pedigree of my mentor, but you're not a name,
right.
So I just kind of wanted to just go and just create cool stuff, and so I got to go do that, and now I live in New Hampshire and I drive to Massachusetts.
Fun.
So apparently me doing haunted houses involves me driving over an hour to work.
I guess that's not uncommon either, yeah. Ugh. Why do we do this? Well, I don't do it. I just make stupid podcasts.
Gluttons for punishment.
I guess so, huh?
Because
want to have a cool job.
Look, I'm just doing this to pay the bills. I'm really hoping to be a forklift, operator sometime.
Hey, Godspeed to you, sir.
I'm working on being forklift certified, that way I can get out of this ball and chain, job.
That's hot.
7 a.m. to 11 p.m. job.
All right, we're at 75. Almost there, guys.
All right, let's do Haunt Life 10.
Haunt Life 10. The themes. We sort of talked about it a little bit, so Barrett's Haunted Mansion likes to change up the theme. Spooky World doesn't do it quite as often. I just kind of throw it in there so that you guys can kind of battle back and forth on who's right.
I don't really think it's a matter of right or wrong. I think for the size of the operation at Barrett's, being able to change on a yearly basis keeps their audience captivated. But when you have a mass of land that's 80 acres, and it costs, just the operating costs alone are significantly higher, from your power to making sure that you can staff that space, it makes the ability to be able to change a lot more difficult. I mean, the hayride has, for the most part, looked extremely similar, for the exception of some additions or subtractions, for the last 9 years. This will be its 9th year in operation, and we've just now kind of really made a change in at least 2 full scenes. Before that, they were almost the same. We had 2 scenes change 2 years ago. So, I mean, that in itself is probably the biggest thing. Is there's just so much space that it's hard to be able to theme something the entire time, and the spaces are so vast. You have the asylum that has been there. This is, I believe, its 4th year, maybe its 3rd. But, that realistically won't change for another 2, maybe 3 years. Nightmare in 3D has changed a huge handful of times because, let's be honest, clowns aren't scary anymore. It doesn't appeal to the audience as much as it did 10 years ago. So you have to change what your 3D haunted attraction looks like. So we've, transformed that from a freak show to something that was kind of like really light and whimsical to now it's just a 3D glasses wearing nightmare show with spiders and aliens and bees and, a little bit of everything.
Matt, get her.
So when she says, I just wanted to touch on when she says scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Scenes are different at Spooky World than they are at Barrett's. All right, so a scene at Barrett's, whether it be Condemned or in the Mansion, you're looking at a scene that is at most maybe 100 to 200 square feet, whereas in a scene on the Hayride, for instance, you're looking at something that's close to 600 to 1,000 square feet, and we're talking about having to build something that. They're having to build something that is 360 and all encapsulating because you don't want to look at a flat wall as you turn the corner. That's why that transition, that build is so difficult. One of their attractions is, for instance, Nightmare in 3D is about 6,400 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the whole blueprint for Condemned is just around 4,000 square feet. So it makes it easy. So for us to strip it down and rebuild, while we have our crew of a lot of our employees are weekend warriors. Essentially, they have full-time jobs. I'm one of the 2 full-time builders that are there, and even then, my build season ends in November and doesn't start back up till March.
Mm-hmm.
So when we rip everything down, it's about keeping things fresh, and I think it's important for us to keep things fresh because we are small. We have a small blueprint, and if you're putting out the same thing every year, and you don't have a big atmosphere to go with it, where there's more to do at Spooky, where you have the mini golf, the batting cages, the go-karts and all that with the laserplex and everything, whereas we just have the haunts and we have the ale house, and those are tremendous things. But if we were to put out the same thing, people would get tired.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love the idea of having a new theme and changing things up because I say in interviews, like, well, the reason, the best thing about Barrett's is if we just somehow miss the mark this year, come back next year, it'll be completely different.
Nice. But I'm hearing a lot of excuses for Spooky World.
No, it's
it really is. It's at the end of the day, it's the space. You can't change a whole space every single year. Financially, Spooky World would have died 10 years ago, if not longer, if that were the case.
Better than that, I'm trying to give justification of why Colony, an attraction that I had a big hand in building, is still there. Because that's one of the last things that's there that I had a hand in, and it's still like very nostalgic to me.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a tough day when it goes, but I'm sure they'll do a fantastic job whatever they do put in there. But like I said, it's not necessarily excuses; it's just the reality of it. You go to ESP when that was up and running, Eastern State Terror Behind the Walls.
Yep.
Not much necessarily completely changed around with that whole attraction because it was set in a prison. They did their best, and they had a year-round build crew that was 2 to 3 times the size of what Spooky World has.
Yep.
And it was tough for them to completely change it around too. And we're talking they had 100,000 people come through their doors every October.
Right. No, I completely understand that. Yeah. And sometimes it's difficult for people like me to see things in the eyes of regular people. And so I got to catch myself every once in a while and be like, yo, chill.
Yeah, we try and, it's just trying to keep it fresh with Condemned. That's such a big undertaking for someone like me.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of that is stuff that we already have that I have to fabricate or repurpose, and a lot of that is solely on my shoulders. It's just become a monster of, like I said, about 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And you're just like, for me, there's still some of that stuff that's there, but it's putting a new spin on it, turning around the direction of people and trying to present something different, while making the right changes to have it feel different.
Yeah. I will give you credit, or all of Barrett's credit. Both the house and the condemned area there feel like they're longer than what they actually are.
Well, you just wait this year, because condemned is actually a third longer this year.
Oh, God, I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
All right, I think it's probably time for a beer.
Yes!
So let's go non-haunt for 20.
Non-haunt 20. That puts us at 105. Thank you. All right. Awesome. Amber, talk about whatever the hell you want. I'm getting a beer.
Jeez. Well,
I'm out of here.
That's a really loaded one, because I'm not a good conversationalist without a topic at hand, I guess. So if we're doing non-haunt stuff, I guess it kind of ties into haunt stuff in general, but I picked up marketing a few years ago. Not a few years ago. I initially went to school for photojournalism when I graduated high school. I dropped out of college because I was told that making money was more important than going to college. And then quite a few years later, I went back to school for public relations and marketing with an under in communications. I picked that up, and ever since I kind of got into that, and again, I never finished school because life happens, and I got more tied up in work than I did being able to pass my classes and get my work in on time. Ever since I had gotten into marketing, I kind of used Spooky World as a tool for me to like practice on, so to speak. And I wanted to get into doing marketing for haunted attractions, specifically because why not take the thing that I hold near and dear to me and this other thing that I know will probably make me a lot more money in my life and mesh the two together. I am not making money doing marketing for haunted houses or otherwise, but it was a good thought that I had at the time.
Good thought.
And that's when I had the opportunity to do marketing for Barrett's and kind of help out with their social media and their photo and video and stuff. So it was a really great opportunity that I had for a couple of years with them. And Matt has since run off. So that was the only little bit that I had.
Well, thank you. All right. Hey, I went for college for marketing too. I did graduate, and guess what I'm not doing? Making money or using my communications degree. So who freaking knows?
Yeah, ironically, I believe 10 credits away from graduating. But I've learned more from like Google and HubSpot Academy and LinkedIn Learning and all those tools than I ever learned in the 3 of the 4 years that I did for college.
Right. I hear that. I'll agree with that. Spider!
Ah!
Yay, I got you. All right.
Yeah, that was a lot meaner looking.
All right, I'm getting there. I'm learning.
Whoa, whoa, drinking beer.
All right, I picked up, this is IPA from Mayflower Brewing. This is down in Plymouth,
Yes.
Massachusetts.
So, there is a horror convention that takes place at Mayflower Brewery.
Yeah, run by Hometown Horrors. Is that the name of the guy? Yeah.
Yep. So it's Hometown Horror and America's Hometown Horror and Inebriart. I actually helped them with marketing their first year, and they had a massive success that they were able to really expand their event this year. So I believe it's they're doing like a drive-in style movie or something similar.
Cool.
And then the following Saturday they've got their whole convention. They've got John Kasser coming, which I thought was so cool.
John Castle, wow.
Fright Kingdom was just announced today as one of their sponsors. So I believe they're giving away a couple tickets, and they're on the banner for being a sponsor for them.
Cool. Yeah, I mean that was one of the main reasons why I grabbed this. I know that Barrett's was kind of, I don't know if there was some kind of partnership between them and the podcast. It seems to be the only.
But we're good friends of the podcast. The podcast will come over. They'll eat at the ale house. We'll actually, whenever they like, we take them on a tour of the attractions before we open. And a couple years ago, I had the privilege of guiding them on the tours for Condemned, and really great people.
Yeah, they sound like great people. They were just more horror movie podcasts is what they really are about. Yeah,
they predominantly focus on that. Mike is awesome. Mike Walsh is a really good guy. He's come up to Spooky World. He gave me the opportunity. He knew that I was doing some of the marketing for Barrett's, and he reached out. So I believe it's in my little humble brag is that I have my own backlink. Because my name is mentioned in their Bloody Disgusting article.
Oh, nice.
Put myself some nice credit in there that makes me accountable to some degree.
All right.
But yeah, their event is really cool. They really grew it from absolutely nothing, just an idea written on, a bar napkin.
Right.
And now it's in its second year, and it's grown tremendously in just 2 years.
Yeah, that's cool. I might check it out some year. Here, I don't know. So this one here is just a regular IPA from Mayflower Brewing down in Plymouth, Massachusetts. They established themselves in 2007. Did you know this? They were actually founded by a guy named Drew Brusso, and I thought it was funny that you pronounce his name Brusso. And he's actually the 10th great-grandson of John Alden, who was actually on the Mayflower, and he was the cooper that they hired for the crew.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's an awesome story. So they always use a quote here from William Bradford, who was also on the Mayflower. "We could not take time for further search or consideration, our victuals being much spent, especially our beer." So what he's getting at here is that one of the main reasons why they even landed in Plymouth was because they were running out of beer.
That sounds very English of them.
Yes. They even were like kicking barrels. The main that was the main reason. The captain of the ship, who had to go back to England a few months later, needed to hold on to a few more barrels of ale, and if they kept on sailing, he was going to lose them. So this point looks good. Get out. So that's pretty much how we discovered this country, I guess. Or not discovered.
Yeah, and then we slaughtered people in the thousands and took their land. And...
Sounds
right, yeah, beer.
It smells very English, too. I really love the color. It's barely hazy, so it's like a real IPA. Mixed with Nugent, Simcoe, Glacier, and Amarillo hops. I just feel that's always important. 6.1%. God, this is smelling awesome. I'm blown away by how good that is. Very crisp, smooth, very nice. Wow, he picked a good brewery to partner with.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Thank you, Hometown Horrors. Wow, that is awesome. All right, moving on.
Let's do haunt work for 25.
Haunt work for 25. The main differences between Spooky World and Barrett's Haunted Mansion, I think you guys answered that in depth.
One's in New Hampshire, one's in Massachusetts.
Oh, no way! That could be a good topic, though. Like, do you guys notice maybe a difference in clientele?
Yes and no. So I was in an interesting position to be able to witness both demographics at the same time. I will say that especially earlier on in the season, Barrett's tends to draw a much more mature crowd. It's a lot of, older folks, whether that be people that have been friends of the Barrett family for years, or if it's, just old horror fans that grew up going to Barrett's that are now going there to check it out, and they're bringing their kids. Whereas at Spooky World, it's really just a melting pot of people no matter the time of the season. I think overall the Spooky World demographic it's a range from people, kids that get dropped off by their parents because they think it's like the mall, to people that are there to, enjoy the art. I've got, my tattoo artist, he tattoos out of Beverly, Mass, and he comes up to Spooky World at least twice a year. And he grew up going to, Foxborough and Berlin. And then, we've got people that used to work there when it was, old Spooky that still come up and visit. but I think demographic-wise, that's probably the biggest difference, is that, I mean, you pull from a little bit more of an intimate crowd down in Abington.
Huh.
Yeah, layman's terms, Spooky World's hip and Barrett's is geriatric.
I don't think it's quite there, but
No,
that's a t-shirt.
Abington is a much easier pill to swallow when you're like me and you don't like people.
Right. So at the beginning of the year, with Spooky World, we will have our, we will have.
You mean?
I mean at Barrett's. Jesus, I can't remember.
I knew what you were saying.
Thank you. At Barrett's, our opening night, we tend to deal. Our opening night, our first couple Fridays tends to be earlier in the night. Tend to be 13-year-olds essentially that get dropped off, and they get $40 burning a hole in their pocket, and they just want to come in and annoy the actors or just hang around the property. I was about
to say, I mean, I've been to Barrett's, I've definitely seen that happen. It's almost like they route the parking lot to do that.
Yeah. So
their parents are just busy hanging out in the house.
But we do have our Fright and Bite, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure, that will draw more of a conservative crowd.
Okay.
So it's, like she said, it's a melting pot. Both attractions appeal to the same target audience. It just all depends on your area. The metrics in both areas, as far as median age, they're comparative. As far as like cities per capita, based off of the median age, like I believe the South Shore area is a little bit younger, but it all depends on who you're appealing to and what day it is. A lot of people want to go up to Spooky World because it's a long experience.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett's, we give you a lot, but it's in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I can see that. I like that answer. Good job. 10 points, or however many. What was that, 25?
It was 25.
That was 25. All right, cool. One of these days I'll know what I'm doing here. Hey, thanks so much for listening. This has been part 1 of 3 of our interview with Amber and Matt. Look for part 2 in your episodes guides of whichever podcast platform you use, and be sure to check out some of our other episodes talking to other actors, owners, and in-depth dives into haunts all over New England. Thanks for listening.